to the release day interview with Tawdra and Olivia.
Hello.
Hi. And we're going to interview each other, and we can't promise anything, but we'll probably laugh a lot. So
a lot.
That's probably true. Okay, so I'm older, so I get to go first. Olivia, tell us about All for Family. And yeah, go ahead.
Well, All for Family is the third Raleigh family romance, and it's about two characters that we met in All for Hope and that were also in Justice for All, Meg and Jeremy. And what we get to do is go back and see how they became a couple and the struggles that specifically Meg had. There's a lot of friendship issues, there's a lot of body image issues, and a lot of romance.
There is. I like the romance, and I like the friendship too. There is. I told you, and it's true. I think Meg is now my favorite of your characters, of your female characters. Wait, yes, female characters. Let me add that because I don't want anybody getting mad at me. Rude.
or Nikki.
That's true. Oh, it's just. That's right, Nikki. Yeah, Nikki's kind of, well, anyway, we won't get about Nikki. So when I read All for Hope, probably before a lot of other people did, and I absolutely fell in love with it. When you wrote that book, that was written quite a long time ago, wasn't it?
Good while ago. When Hardin published it, it had been about 15 years. So I guess now it's been about 16 years since I wrote it.
Wow. Yeah. And so when you wrote it, did you ever think that you would come back and revisit some of the characters? Because so far, Justice for All had was a spinoff, and then so was of course All for Family. Did you think that you would come back and revisit them?
I don't think I knew in what way I would revisit them, because the Raleighs are actually a family that, when I was first writing as a teenager, they were a family that I was writing historical type romances about. So in my mind, their family goes back way in time. And All for Hope was the only contemporary story I had ever written about them. So I don't think when I first wrote it, I realized that I would write more contemporaries. So that was something surprising to me.
So are we ever going to see the historical ones?
Yes, one day when I have more time.
Yes. Okay, and Gail Priest, author Gail Priest, wanted to know, did you, when you wrote about Jeremy, had you ever considered, using him? Was that a surprise that you decided that you would write about Jeremy?
Yes. Well, it was probably a little bit of surprise. Interestingly, when I first wrote All for Hope, the dynamics of the family were a little bit different, because Brennan and Jeremy were brothers originally. So Jeremy really at that time wasn't someone I wasn't focused on him very much when I first wrote the story. But then by the time we published All for Hope, Jeremy and Meg were definitely on my radar for a future story. But what their story came to be was not anywhere in my mind. I didn't have any idea how. I had to wait for them to tell me.
So one of the things that I love about Meg is that she's so real, and she's got some issues that she's dealing with personally, not just romantically. Would you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, Meg, we didn't really know this until we get to All for Family, but Meg was married once before she and Jeremy were together. And that was kind of an unfortunate relationship. It was, he was one of her friends, a high school sweetheart type friend. And he was also the brother of her very best friend in school. And so you have this where she really wants to be a part of the family that she's come to love, as far as her ex-husband and her best friend, Rhonda and Ray. And I guess at the time, marriage seemed like the way to do that in her mind when she was young and impetuous, maybe. So we pick up on her story. She and Ray are divorced, but no one knows it. And they're trying to keep this a secret because Rhonda is getting married. And so that part of the story of the changing of friendships, and I think that's really important. I can remember I've told many a person that you are my friend, I love you, and I will always be your friend. And you mean that at the time. But the truth is that friendships change and people come and go out of our lives. And I think that we have to learn not to be afraid of that that's just a natural part of being human, of relationships. And learning when you have to let go of a friendship is an important lesson. And that's something that Meg has to deal with.
It is. That's what I loved about it. It was more than just a romance, but it definitely was, which I was surprised because I always saw Jeremy as this stick in the mud. And I was like, oh, really? Okay. So, I mean, I had faith in you. I knew you could do it, but I was kind of wondering how this was all going to play out. And it was very, because I got to see Jeremy in a whole different light. I really.
Yeah. And I knew Jeremy was the stick in the mud. He was very kind of pompous and he's being raised as a member of the nobility. And especially because he's the heir, to the family. And I really like that one. There's one part where he and Kay are talking, brother and sister, and she tells him, you're really a snob. and he has to say, well, yeah, I really am. But Meg brings something else out in him. That it's really neat to see that happen.
It is. It was good. Well, I absolutely loved it. And so who's going to be next in the Raleigh family?
I'm really torn about that. Part of me wants to do kind of a sort of historical, go back and see how James and Laura came to be, especially because in All for Justice for All and All for Family, I stuck the mother in there. Laura was in there quite a bit, and or Lara, and I really enjoyed seeing her because she's a lot like Jeremy. She's very stuck up and she's very nose in the air, but you can see with her children and her husband that the sentimental and the emotional side of her comes out. So I'd like to see their story. I also really want to go back and visit from All for Hope, the detective, Detective Guillory. And I have an idea of how to do that by using Kay and Van, have a little, maybe a case come up where he comes back in and he can, have a little love interest as well. He's not technically a Raleigh, but we'll see how that plays out.
Well, that's great. I'm very excited about these books. So that's very cool. And it's been fun for me to kind of get the inside scoop as you're writing it and talk about it.
Yes, we do a lot of talking.
We do. Well, these characters tend to make us crazy. So.
They do. They're always chattering in the background, and some of them don't want to wait their turn, and we have to make decisions about who's first and that sort of thing.
Very true. You're always trying to do that. So we're also doing, if you've gotten this far in the interview, we're going to reward you because it's a giveaway. So what are you giving away?
I will be giving away a signed copy of All for Hope, the first book in the Raleigh series.
Yay! And I will be giving away a signed copy of The Posse, which is the first book in the Crystal Cove romances.
I love The Posse.
Yeah, I'm out of it. I have to get, I have one copy left with the old cover, so I need to get a bunch. So.
Oh yes, the new covers are beautiful. Yeah.
I love the new covers. Stephanie Nelson is an artist, and I love what she did. I really did. When I realized that I was going to do the other two books this summer, I had a couple people say, "Oh no, don't change the cover. I love the Posse cover," and I did. But I've learned a lot about covers since I had the Posse done, and Stephanie did the original too.
Yeah.
But I really felt like this reflected more the tone of what I want Crystal Cove to be and what Crystal Cove is.
Yes, very much so. So are we ready to talk about Crystal Cove?
We can, yes. Anything else you want to share with us about the Raleighs? Anything that that maybe you don't know that?
I think I've shared kind of what
the
thoughts that I have. Things change all the time. I'll surprise you.
Go ahead then.
Okay. Well, I have several questions. Some of them are from your fans, but I'm going to focus on Crystal Cove first because the other questions have to do with other things. So, as far as, tell us about the path first. Tell us about Crystal Cove and the path.
Well, when I wrote the posse, I still was harboring the illusion that I could write a standalone book. I was wrong. All these characters started coming in, and I realized that they were going to need their own books. My initial thought was that the characters, that each member of the posse would end up having their own book.
Right.
And in one case, in the plan, that was true because Cooper, Cooper and Emmy ended up being the leads in the plan, which came out earlier this summer.
Right.
But the other members of the posse, Matt, who was the other one who was kind of courting Jude in the posse, he ended up finding love sooner than I thought. I was kind of surprised. In the posse, he ended up with Sandra. So I was like, well, there goes that. The other members of the posse are all married. So it was, but Emmy Carter was a character who I had not planned. She just walked into the Riptide, Jude's bar and restaurant one day, and there she was, and she had this whole backstory, and so that's why she ended up being the lead in the plan. And then Abby was the woman who they hired to run the bed and breakfast, which is in Crystal Cove, which was a big part of the posse. Was a little bit in the plan, but is a much bigger part of the path. And Abby, I really didn't know anything about her, and that doesn't trouble me anymore. Now I get to know them the same time everybody else is as I'm writing it. And Abby comes from a large, wealthy hotel family, and she has a lot of baggage from both her family and from her own romantic past. So when she comes to Crystal Cove, she basically just wanted to heal and hide out, and that's what she does for the first 3 years. She runs the bed and breakfast, which she loves, but she's getting a little antsy. She wants to do something. She knows there's not really a lot of future. She could run it forever, but that would be it. So when Jude and Logan buy this hotel called the Riverside, yeah, it's based on a hotel that's called the Riverview. So I always have to think, which is the Riverview? It's easy. It's a no-brainer to hire Abby as the one who's going to run it, and she also oversees the rehab, and they hire a restoration specialist.
Yes, get that right.
Rylan was just supposed to be a contractor, but from his first scene, he corrected me and said, "No, I am a restoration specialist." I was like, okay. But Rylan is just the polar opposite of Abby. He's laid back. He likes to have a good time, except when it comes to his work. He's very, very passionate about his work. And so he and Abby start butting heads. And no one's more dismayed than Rylan when he realizes maybe he has feelings for Abby. Yeah. And Abby's, of course, terrified. And how that plays out is a lot of fun. And Abby's actually, here we go. Here's the deep meeting. Here's the deep book club meeting. Abby's being restored at the same time that the hotel is. So.
Oh, I love that. And that's true, because I think what I like about Abby is that you played out the way our mistakes follow us, and it's very hard to get past that. We know what each of us could look back and say, that was a pivotal moment where I really wish I had done something different. But to let that weigh you down forever isn't the way to live. And that's what Abby had to realize. That was how she had to be restored.
Exactly. Yeah. She had to let it go. She had to realize that the old saying is it's an ill wind that blows no good. And she realizes that something she thought was life-ending actually put her on the path that she needed to be on.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
Well, one of the things I was thinking about as I was reading, and you do this on your books, but I really felt it in The Path. You get into your guys' brains really well, the male characters, because you write most of them from first person. And for instance, the thing that got me every time was when Ryland would be thinking about her rack. And the way you would write it, and I would think, that's really what he's thinking. That's really in his brain. So do you find that hard to switch your brain into the male perspective and then go to the female?
It really isn't. You know, I was surprised. The first male perspective I wrote was Rafe in Undeniable. And it was so easy. I was like, I'm going to write men all the time. It's really easy. And Ryland was just somebody who I really, really liked. He's from my home state. I feel like I know a lot of Rylands, or I knew a lot of Rylands. And yeah, he's fairly simple, but he's also very deep. He's a lot more than what he sees. But no, he's Ryland's funny. He was
yes, he is. I like him a lot. Absolutely. I enjoyed you have a little bit of a ghostly element in the background of this story. So how did you decide to do that? This is a contemporary, but it just happened?
That was a surprise. Yeah, they were in the hotel, and I realized, oh my gosh, this is an old hotel. This is it's got a lot of history. So now, and probably because I haven't written paranormal in now over a year, and I was a little antsy maybe about that. So I was like, I need some paranormal. Yeah, and whether it's not really defined, and I'm not going to give anything away, but it was nice to have that there and kind of moving along the story. And I thought a little bit while I was doing it, I really enjoyed Nora Roberts' trilogy, the Inn at Boonesboro. And while this is not like that at all, it definitely it made me think of it as, you know, they have the ghost story in that trilogy is much more prominent. This is just kind of something that's in the background. But we may see more of it later, because there's a short that I did that I think is actually on Literary Escapism today. That it's a crossover. It has Rafe and Nell from the Serendipity duet and from the King series and Recipe for Death. They're spending a few days at the beach, and one of the reasons they're there is because they're meeting with Abby about the hotel.
Very cool. Well, speaking of Rafe, one of your fans really wants you to bring back Jocelyn from the King series, and she really would rather her be with Rafe. But she pointed out to me that you write paranormal, so she thinks you can find a way to bring Jocelyn back, even if it's just for a dream or something like that. And she wants you to know that she'd rather it be steamy, not young adult, but more new adult. So what are the chances that could ever happen?
The chances that Joss, I always knew that I would write Joss again, because she she was just so much fun to write, and I didn't expect her to be. I expected her to be pretty cut and dried, but she has so much history. So I always thought I would do a prequel, and I may yet. But yeah, we're going to see Joss. Joss is going to be coming up again soon, and I'm not going to give anything away, but we have an anthology coming out that it's on pre-order, but it hasn't been really announced yet. And I would say if anybody really wanted to see Joss, they might want to, you know, read my short in that anthology. When I asked my readers, who do you want to see in a paranormal, I got a mix of Jackie and Lucas, which was kind of my Rafe and Nell, and Joss. So I think everybody's wishes are going to come true.
Yay! Okay, this one's just for fun.
Okay.
And the question had many elements to it, so I'm going to jam it into one whole question. Okay. She wanted to know what all of your favorites are. So you're watching your favorite movie, eating your favorite food, enjoying your favorite drink, and after the movie, you're going to pick up a book by your favorite author. So what movie, what drink, what food, and what author?
Okay, what movie? That one's hard, but it's probably going to be, oh gosh, I don't know. It's going to be something romantic. There's a few that I just can't ever turn off when I'm like spinning around. Sleepless in Seattle. It's probably one of them. So let's say that because I watched that recently when I was in Atlanta. If I'm eating my favorite food, it's probably like the chocolate peanut butter ice cream that Ben & Jerry's makes.
Whoa.
Like that. And what else? My favorite drink.
Right.
My favorite drink's not going to go with my favorite food.
No.
Probably,
I was figuring limoncello.
Yeah, limoncello is it's a shot. You're gonna.
Yeah.
My favorite drink is probably a margarita, or yeah, it's probably that. Let's say margarita. And
after the movie, your favorite book.
And that is hard.
Or your favorite author. I'm sorry.
That's so hard. And my favorite author. Well, of course, my favorite author is Olivia Hardin.
Oh.
I'm always happy. Close second is Lily Bond. So
Oh, when you need something a little.
You need something a little steamier. That's right.
Yes.
That's it. That covers it.
So, anything else you want to tell us about the Cove or your upcoming releases or anything?
Well, let's see. I was supposed to do another contemporary romance this fall, but I think instead I'm releasing in October the next Recipe for Death, which is going to be, it's going to be called Death a la Mode. So it's Jackie and Lucas, and we might get, depends on how ambitious I am, but we might get also a contemporary romance. And I haven't really officially said it outside of my private reader group, but there's going to be a new trilogy coming out of Burton, Georgia, called The Always Love trilogy. And so we're going to see some of the people from the one trilogy and some of the people from Crystal Cove, of course, because they go back and forth.
I love that. I love that about those.
Yeah, I'm working right now on a Christmas story called Underneath My Christmas Tree, and that will be in an anthology coming out in November, and that has both Crystal Cove and Burton people in it, and it's actually going to set up the second book in the Always Love trilogy. So that's exciting.
Yes.
And there's going to be more Crystal Cove books coming out. I don't know exactly how many or when. They're tentatively scheduled for next year.
Mm-hmm.
And there's more books in The Perfect Dish, and a new trilogy that will be out next year called the Keeping Score trilogy, which is one I've been working on for a while. So that's new adult.
I didn't even know about that.
You knew about it a little bit. You just didn't.
Maybe I didn't know the name.
So you didn't know that name. So anyway, so that's that. So tell us what's coming up for you this fall.
Oh, well, you mentioned
the anthology.
Yes, you mentioned the anthology. So my story in the anthology is called Moon Dust, and it's going to be a story from, if you've read the Lindley Lincoln series, her best friend is Rhiannon, and so this will be a Rhiannon story. Yay. And it's going to take place about the same time that the first Lindley story does, but it's not occurring with Lindley. It's happening somewhere else. So. And that will probably become a new series, but not for probably a while. So this will just be a little taste. And then I'm working on the next Lindley book, which is called Reaping Trouble. And that will be out at the very end of this year, the last day of the year. So that will be your New Year's Eve book that you can read. And again, kind of like you, if I get really ambitious, I would like to do a Christmas story. That would be in the Raleigh family, but I haven't really pinned that down yet and whether I'll be able to fit that in. And there will be more Raleigh next year and more Lindley. And I've had some people asking for some of the Ben Bite Shift characters to come back and For Love of Faye. So I have some ideas on that too. So we may see some of that next year as well.
Oh, that would be awesome. Now in the Lindley book, when we last left Lindley, I think she was holding up a wedding dress.
She was.
Are we going to see, are there going to be bells ringing in this next one, or?
I don't think the wedding bells will ring in this next one, but it will be an important part of the story, specifically the dress. The dress is going to be very important. So yeah, it's going to be fun, but I don't think they're going to tie the knot just yet, because they're going to have some pretty big paranormal issues going on that they'll have to confront. So I'm thinking maybe the next story after Reaping Trouble will probably, see either their make or break of their relationship.
I hope it's me. I hope it's me. And if you want to know more about Olivia, if you're not following her already, tell us where we can find you, website, so on.
My website is olivia-hardin.com. You can find me on Facebook, just search Olivia Hardin. You can find me on Twitter. I'm just trying to start using my Instagram account, so you can find me there too. So yeah, just look for me online. What about you, Tawdra? Where can we find you?
Well, I wanted to say, and your newsletter too. And if you have not signed up for your newsletter, you get a treat.
Yes, if you sign up for my newsletter, you get a free ebook copy of a story that I wrote called Dark Road Winding.
I love that book.
Yes, it is currently a standalone, but that's something else I forgot to mention. I really have some ideas about maybe revisiting Joanna and seeing what's going on with her and her grandpa, and checking in on them too.
Oh, that would be very cool. That would be very cool. You can find me at tawdrakandle.com, and on Facebook, and on Twitter, and on Instagram, on Pinterest a little bit. My newsletter is, you can find that pretty much on my site and everything else.
On your fan page, and my fan page too. Don't you have the little click for sign up for your newsletter? Yeah.
Yes, I do. And I think that's it. I'm usually around. And, go one click these 2 books, and you'll have good reading for at least this coming weekend.
Yes.
One last beach read, 2 last beach reads.
Everyone needs a little romance.
Everybody needs a little romance. That's right. And Olivia puts the O in romance. This has been fun. We don't usually get to talk in person. So
I know.
Cool.
I haven't talked to you in person since New Orleans.
I know. It's crazy. I keep trying to call you on Facebook.
If I hear the sound, I'm like, oh, that's Tawdra.
I'll just fix her phone in her purse, and her phone, my phone likes to talk to people. What can I say?
And it always dials me.
I know. We should do a Tawdra and Olivia show, Olivia and Tawdra show, once a month.
Yes, we should. We might need to do these more often, definitely.
We should, but we should do them in the evening when we can have perhaps some adult beverages with us.
Yes, because I'm still on my day job time clock, so I can't have any adult beverages.
Yeah, and technically, I'm supposed to be, mother and author and all those things. So, but our party is about to get started actually in about half an hour. So, if you're seeing this, you're probably already at the party. Yeah. So, all right. I will see you at the party, Olivia. Mwah.
Mwah. Bye, everyone.